That's not even what it's called. This is the art of the face and heel turn. Let's see what they talking about. I love that.
Welcome back to Nacho Wrestling. When it comes to wrestling, everyone has a list of their favorites. And there's always a universal rule when it comes to those lists. There's always good guys and bad guys, or faces and heels on the list. Wrestling fans love wrestling no matter the archetype of the character. And if that wrestler is doing great work, we're going to want to cheer for them whether they're a bad guy or a good guy. And sometimes companies acknowledge our reactions and shift the characters' attitudes to match ours. This can be an issue for some wrestlers, but not for others, and that is why in today's video essay, we're going to be taking a look at the art of what makes a good face and a good heel turn. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with every video I make. There are specific pillars of the wrestling world that have been followed like religion since the dawn of professional wrestling. And of course, the biggest and most important aspect of professional wrestling has been the wrestlers. Whether it be male, female, tag team, solo. No, not that solo.
It's solo.
God damn it, not that solo either. Whether it be tag teams or single wrestlers, all wrestlers alike have characters and are changing them and evolving them. Some better than others, and some not so much. But at the core level of wrestling, most wrestlers can be split up into two primary camps. That's heels and faces. Now, I would imagine most of the people watching this video have a good base knowledge of professional wrestling, so I don't probably need to explain what heels and faces are, but let's just say that someone who is watching this has no understanding about the concepts of professional wrestling. In wrestling, you have good guys and you have bad guys. The good guys are referred to as the faces, while the bad guys are referred to as the heels. Now, of course, just like in comic books, there are anti-heels or anti-faces. I'm not sure which it would be in this scenario, but you have good guys doing bad things for the right reasons, or bad guys doing the right thing even when they are reluctant to do so. These characters are referred to as tweeners in the wrestling world. While not originally a character type in wrestling, it has definitely become the third character type for wrestlers in the modern era. Some of the greatest examples of baby faces have been John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, Roman Reigns from 2015 to 2020. Whether we like to admit it or not, he was a babyface, we just didn't cheer for him, among many others. One of the key defining features of a babyface is their ability to persevere and defy authority figures in command during their time in the spotlight. Whether this was Stone Cold Steve Austin defying the authority figure of his era, who I will not name, or whether it was Daniel Bryan defying the authority figures during his time with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, or whether it be Rey Mysterio defying everyone telling him that he was too small. They would always follow the rules and respect their opponent unless the story demanded them becoming more aggressive and going overboard. Meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum, remember that phrase, the spectrum, by the way, we'll come back to that later in the video. We have the bad guys, aka the heels. Some of the best heels in wrestling include Ric Flair, Triple H, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and god damn it, who put him on my list again? CM Punk. Heels are ruthless and aggressive, but they can also be cowardly and chicken shit. Look at Seth Rollins in 2014-2015. He would do everything he could to stay out of the big fight matches. But then in 2019-2020, when he had his second heel turn, he was a more aggressive and sadistic heel in his never-ending feud against the Mysterio family. At the top of the video, I talked about how characters in wrestling evolve and change themselves. And this is of course true with damn near every wrestler ever in the business. Part of this is of course due to the fact that no one is able to strike gold immediately. It takes time to find the right thing that makes the wrestler connect with the crowd, and sometimes it takes a completely dramatic character change to save a wrestler from being cast aside by the fans. The fans are always the ones controlling who gets the bulk of attention from everyone, even when they like or do not like the wrestlers. As Daniel Bryan once said, wrestling fans are fickle, and that is 100% the truth. 1 minute, everyone will be cheering for the good guy, and they will be happy when he overcomes the odds. But once he overcomes the odds one too many times, the fans get bored, and they turn on the guy or the girl, and boo them until they lose their time in the spotlight, and or are shoved to the back of the bottom of the card. Now, a lot of times this can be due to the character staying the same and not having any changes from impactful storylines. I tend to again think about Roman Reigns in 2015 and 2016 and 2017 and 20. He would get attacked and targeted by everyone, and never seemed to struggle or need to change his method to overcome the odds. That is why we've seen a lot of wrestlers, especially in the past 5 to 8 years, have really channeled into this idea of constant reinvention. Look at Matt Hardy, or in my opinion, better yet, Christian Cage. The career work he is doing in AEW right now would not be possible
he's
without this idea and his idea of character evolution and changing from the normal archetype that people are used to him playing and developing his character off what has happened to him. Everything he's done in AEW, from his debut to the patriarch of AEW, has made sense and has been told in sort of a linear fashion. There, of course, is always a limit and a point where someone is just trying to throw anything at the wall to see what will stick. A la Chris Jericho these past 2 years, too much of something can always be a bad thing. Wrestling is art. And just like the Mona Lisa or the Sistine Chapel, there are perfect stories in wrestling that more often than not have a heel or face turn in it. Sometimes they have both. Wrestlers have a plethora of reasons for wanting to turn heel or to turn face. I will discuss that more in a minute. However, some turns are done better than others, and some have aged like the gallon of milk you left in the back of your fridge. By the way, you might want to go check on that. For me, one of, if not the greatest heel and face turns of all time happened well before I was born. And it, of course, was the double turn between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. The idea of a double turn, of course, is that the two men swap roles. In this case, we all know how it goes down. Bret won't release the sharpshooter, but Austin will not tap, and his face is covered in blood. He eventually passes out, and special guest referee Ken Shamrock calls for the bell. It's iconic. It's one of the most iconic images in all of wrestling. Another one that I have a personal love for, but some might not think it's executed to the level that it could have been, and I'll admit I agree with you. The Daniel Bryan heel turn and then face turn involving the Wyatt family in 2014. Was it perfect? No. Did it produce an absolutely insane pop when he turned on Bray? Yes. While it was an expedited feud and ended quicker than some expected it to, it was nice that they eventually called back to it during their feud in 2019. AEW has also had what I believe to be a memorable heel turn in the form of Kenny Omega at Winners Coming 2020. The complete and utter shock that was Kenny Omega not only cheating to win, but cheating with Don Callis, who at the time was working for Impact Wrestling, who then also proceeded to announce that him and Kenny would be on fucking Impact Wrestling to discuss what transpired. This turn led to the fantastic belt collector run for Kenny, and some believe it is one of the best runs for Kenny in his career, if not his best run ever. Why exactly do wrestlers turn? It could be the fans forced creative to make them a bad guy because the fans were booing them too much already. It could be that you've been a face for a long time and it's starting to not work, so you need to freshen up your character. Or, and this is some fans' favorite option, you could have dirt or heat about you come out to the public and everyone genuinely starts to hate you. Now, I'm not saying a wrestler is going to commit a heinous crime. Most of the time when that happens, the wrestler is just removed from TV entirely. There's also reasons why people turn face, of course. A lot of time, bad guys just start doing really good work with their character and in-ring stuff, and fans enjoy it so much they can't help but cheer, so creative has to turn them face. Look at Rhea Ripley right now, for example. She does bad things to everyone, but the fans love her because she does that to fucking perfection. The same thing could be said with Seth Rollins in 2020 and 2021, when he was doing the Messiah gimmick, and then the Joker gimmick when fans came back. They almost immediately started cheering for the great work he was doing on the mic and in the ring. Sometimes creative will begin a story that has an endpoint of a heel turning face. This is sometimes seen in WWE with reluctant odd couple tag teams. The main one that comes to my mind, of course, is The Bar. Sheamus was a heel, Cesaro a face, but eventually they both came around to the idea and killed it in the tag division. God, I miss The Bar. I've already talked a little bit about some notable heel and face turns. And, of course, notable does not always mean good. Some have had fans on the edge of their seats, waiting for the moment to happen, like Sami Zayn at the Royal Rumble in 2023. Or they just don't care, we're not happy to see it happen, like the many tag team breakups from Vince's time of breaking up tag teams. Enzo and Cass, I'm looking mainly at you two. Not everything is going to get people talking, but if we talk about how bad it is, we are still talking about it. So maybe they accomplished what they wanted, even if we don't like it. I do think one of the best reactions in recent years has been when no fans were in the arena. Roman Reigns coming back at SummerSlam 2020 inside the Thunderdome during Fiend versus Braun, and everyone at home could tell this was different Roman. He had the same cargo shorts on shore, and the same boots, but no vest, a black t-shirt that said wreck everyone and leave. It was perfect, down to the last second. You could not have asked for a better return for Roman. And then later on SmackDown, he was with Paul Heyman. He had Paul Heyman by his side, and it is clear what had happened. Roman had become the exact thing he had been fighting and feuding with for the past 5 years. He had become a Brock Lesnar type guy. And of course, the fans were intrigued from the jump about what it meant for Paul and Brock's relationship, what it meant for Roman and Paul's relationship. Is it just a short thing till Brock comes back and Paul turns on Roman? Nope. Here we are 3 years later, and Paul and Roman with the bloodline, still going strong, and still probably going a little too long, but have produced some of the best and most watched content for the WWE in the past 10 years. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have the turns that fall flat on their ass. And the fans do not give a singular shit about what transpired in these turns. A great example of this would be when Big Show, who is known to turn heel or face once or twice in his career. During the Attitude Era in 2000, Big Show was a heel with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, but he eventually turned face and teamed up with Rock and Mick Foley and was a part of one of the worst segments during that era. Big Show, This Is Your Life. There were several This Is Your Life segments throughout this Attitude Era. Of course, there were Mick Foley, This Is Your Life, and Rock, This Is Your Life. But Big Show, This Is Your Life was the worst of the worst. No one liked this segment, and many saw it as way too goofy for what his character was supposed to be at the time. When the fans didn't bite on his face turn, the WWE just decided to turn Big Show back to a bad guy mere months after his face turn. This would not be the last time Big Show turned face or heel. Not everyone loves surprises. Me personally, I like them from time to time, but if it's a whole crowd of people, I tend to get a little scared. But when someone turns in wrestling and we did not see it coming, we're always shocked, excited, mad, disappointed. No matter what, it garners some type of reaction from us. And out of the vast amount of turns there have been in wrestling, only a handful have been genuinely shocking and subverted the expectations of the audience. The big one, I think, in modern era has to be The Shield in 2014. They just got 2 wins over Evolution, solidifying themselves as one of the WWE's top trio factions. Triple H and Randy Orton came out on Raw to preach about how there would always be a plan B. And then, whack! Just like that, Seth Rollins bought in on his future with the WWE and aligned himself with the Authority. Nobody saw it coming, mainly because everyone thought that it would be Ambrose to turn heel on the Shield, not only because of his wacky tendencies, but because they had telegraphed a disconnect between him and the other two weeks prior. Seth was the least likely option to turn heel in most fans' eyes because he was already loved by the fans for his fast-paced style in the ring. Just like everything else in life, there are opposites. And in 2018, the Shield was once again involved in a heel turn. This time, it was much more personal. Roman had announced to the world that his leukemia had returned, and he would be out of action for the foreseeable future while he dealt with it. Later that same night, Rollins and Ambrose challenged for the Raw Tag Team titles. Not only would they win the belts, but it would be an actual tearful moment for the two. And then just like that, Dean Ambrose was the one to turn heel on Seth Rollins. The fans would not like this heel turn, not because it happened on the same night as Roman's announcement, but for how they handled it going forward. Having Dean say inexcusable things about Roman and his diagnosis, and getting shots and vaccines because the fans are sick and gross. He also wore a fucking gas mask, Bane style, and a Bane style jacket from Dark Knight Rises. If only WWE could see like 1 or 2 years into the future and see how poorly this would have aged. Turns can take someone from the bottom of the card and put them in the main event scene and leave them there for their entire career. They can also face challenges after that success if they are not careful in how their characters handled post-big angles. I will mention this one now mainly because I do not see it as a turn, as he was already a heel, but Steve Austin in King of the Ring 1996 with his Austin 316 promo. Yes, it revolutionized him and the sport, and then he became the biggest draw in wrestling history, yada yada yada. But he was not a face before that promo, so I'm not really going to count it. I believe one of the best turns for a wrestler's career has to be when Batista turned on Evolution. Unlike how Evolution turned on Randy, Triple H and Flair knew that they needed.
So basically, that's pretty much the whole video. I'm thinking about streaming another episode of 2K24, the Universe mode. It's fun. I like that I don't have to talk. I just play the game, enjoy it. I sometimes listen to music. And it's fun. But anyways, I'm gonna go get these views up, and then I guess I'll see you on the next one. What did I do? That's so cool. I just did that, and then that y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.